How to process grief, navigating dealing with grief. From losing a loved one to moving away from our friends, everyone has or will experience varying degrees of grief at some point in their lives. It can be overwhelming. At times, it may seem like you'll never recover. However, when we learn how to process it, we can move forward from grief in time. Hello, and welcome back to the BetterHelp YouTube channel. My name is Sreela Roy Greene, PhD, LHMC, a licensed therapist with BetterHelp. And today we're talking about grief. How we experience grief is highly personal, and there is no one right way to process it. To understand why this is, it may help to tease apart how grief affects us, inside and out. Why does grief hurt so much? It might seem obvious. Grief hurts because we're losing someone or something we were attached to and played a central role in our lives. By the way, this can be for better or worse. Any significant change to our routine or way of life can trigger a sense of loss and grief. This could be positive changes like a new job or a move, or more challenging ones like a chronic illness or the death of a loved one. On top of the void left in our hearts, such a loss can be terrifying. It opens us up to the reality that nothing will be the same. We are essentially venturing into the unknown. However, if you've had experience with grief, you may have noticed that in addition to the severe emotional pain, you also may have felt it in your body. Here's why. Grief fatigue and broken hearts. Grief can change the very way our cells work. When we experience the sorrow and anguish that accompany grief, our body responds the same way it would to any highly stressful situation. It challenges how our immune systems function, igniting an inflammatory response. This can cause aches, pains, gastrointestinal issues, headaches, and fatigue. In fact, grief fatigue is a very common physical symptom experienced during the grieving process. The body's immune system, combined with typical sleep disruptions, can leave you feeling weak, drained, and thoroughly exhausted. In some cases, grief can even prevent the heart from working effectively, resulting in symptoms similar to those of a heart attack. This is a condition called broken heart syndrome, or Takotsubo cardiomyopathy in clinical terms. Types of grief. It's tricky to try and label or compartmentalize types of grief. For example, acute grief is a type that stays for a while, then gradually fades. But there are really no hard or fast rules about how long grief should stick around. For some, it might take months. For others, it could be years. But eventually, we can process acute grief and put it in a healthier perspective so we can move on. Another type of grief is persistent or prolonged grief, that which continues beyond the point in which we may have found closure and moved on. Some say beyond a year or two. We'll talk more about this type of grief in a moment. The 5 stages of grief. First outlined by Elizabeth Kubler-Ross, the 5 stages of grief are a sort of framework for understanding the grieving process. They are: denial. The reality hasn't set in yet. People in this phase might be in a state of numbness or shock. Anger. When the initial shock wears off, anger might arise. This anger can be directed at oneself or others. Bargaining. This stage is often marked by doubt and guilt. For example, a person in the bargaining phase might think, if I had just paid closer attention, I would have noticed something was wrong. Or, God, if you bring them back, I promise I'll do it differently this time. Depression. Intense sadness and hopelessness that arise when the other stages subside. Acceptance. The period of grief in which we come to terms with our loss. It's important to remember that grief can manifest in complex and sometimes confusing ways. Some people describe grief as coming and going in waves. These phases might not occur in order, or some may not arise at all. There's simply an outline of what you might experience along the way. Grief versus depression, when grief becomes stuck. When grief is suppressed or someone has had a harder time coping, grief can sometimes become something more serious and challenging to manage. This intense grief is sometimes known as prolonged grief disorder, PGD, and it can be debilitating. When unaddressed, prolonged grief disorder can evolve into a depressive disorder. Some symptoms of PGD include persistent, overwhelming yearning or longing for the deceased, preoccupation with the deceased that interferes with other aspects of life, impaired functioning that affects work, social relationships, and overall well-being, struggling to accept the reality of the situation, loss of meaning and purpose in life, and actively avoiding reminders such as places, objects, or situations associated with the deceased. Although anyone can experience it, prolonged grief disorder may be more likely in people with a history of mental health conditions or past trauma. How do we even begin to heal from grief? To heal, you must first make space for your emotions. It's natural to want to avoid painful feelings, but suppressing them can prolong the grieving process and might even exacerbate both mental and physical symptoms. So, how do you acknowledge and honor something so painful? Here are some tips. First, reach out to your support system and share your feelings. It may also be helpful to attend a support group for other people cope with their own grief. You could also talk to a therapist or counselor specializing in grief. Finally, try keeping a journal of your thoughts and feelings. Also, during this time, let yourself ugly cry. Many of us feel the need to put on a stoic face. We must keep calm and move on, right? Would you tell a close friend to do that, or would you encourage them to express themselves authentically? Offer yourself the same grace and understanding. Be patient and give yourself space and time to grieve in your own way, even or maybe especially if it means some cathartic sobbing. What do you think? Do you find a good cry can be healing and helpful, or do you feel it makes grief worse? Everyone's different. If you feel comfortable, share with us in the comments below. We'd love to hear about your experiences with processing grief. Take care of yourself. During this time, try to prioritize self-care. Get enough sleep, eat nutritiously, and exercise regularly. Engage in activities that help you unwind, like spending time in nature, reading, or other hobbies that help you relax. It might feel like climbing a mountain, but even taking a short walk can help improve your mood and reduce stress. Also, there are often a lot of things to do and tasks to take care of after the death of a loved one. Don't hesitate to ask for help from the people around you. Carve out time during this busy phase to pause and grieve. Whether you play their favorite music, write them a letter, or just sit quietly and think about them, giving yourself this time can be tremendously healing. Remember, it's critical to treat yourself with kindness while you're grieving and practice what's known as the 3 C's. The first C is choose what's best for you and your healing process, even if it means adjusting your expectations or lifestyle. The second C is connect with others who understand and support you. And the third C is to communicate openly and honestly about your needs and feelings, either with trusted loved ones or a grief counselor. With time and support, it is possible to move forward with your life and hold on to your cherished memories in a positive, healthy way. Thanks so much for watching. If this video has helped you in your grieving process, give us a thumbs up so it can help others too. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel and enable notifications for more content to boost your mental health. Take good care.